So these are all the reasons why I bought a 2018 MacBook Air in 2025. Now, before I got the 2018 MacBook Air, I was exclusively rocking a 2015 11-inch MacBook Air. It had 4 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage, and it was a very basic MacBook, very old as well. I was using it for around 3 years, so it was already old when I got it. And if I finally decided, I needed an upgrade, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So in January of 2025, I began looking for Macs, specifically used ones. I took a look at the new ones, which at the time is the M3 MacBook, and I was looking at the M1, the M2. But I finally decided on getting the 2018 MacBook Air because it suited my needs. Now, when I was using the 2015 MacBook Air, I really didn't use heavy, intensive apps. I'm not a big person when it comes to using the computer for very intensive apps. I mostly do web browsing. So basically, I live on Safari, email, iMessage. I'm not a heavy user. I don't do gaming. I don't do video editing on the Mac. I do that on all my content creation is pretty much done on an iPhone or iPad or iOS device. So I really never used a Mac or a laptop to do any type of video production. So that really lowered my standards on when I wanted to buy a new MacBook. And I really feel that the 2018 does all my needs very, very well. So let me go and give you all the reasons why I specifically chose the 2018 MacBook Air, pretty much a 6 to 7 year old device here in 2025. And it served my needs real good. Let's get into the more reasons why I bought it. So one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to get away from that old school design of the 2015 MacBook Air, because that is the same old design from the first MacBook Air that was released in 2008. So I really wanted to make a jump. And the first MacBook to have a redesigned design that was still kind of modern was the 2018 MacBook Air. It looks just like a modern laptop should be. It's the same design as the still relevant M1 MacBook Air, and it just is just a big transition away from the classic MacBook Air. Just very modern. It's very thin, very portable. They took out the lighting, the MacBook logo on the front that it lights up on the back. They took that out and put that more modern, plain, non-lighted look. It has thinner bezels. It has the just a very, very modern take. This is a very modern looking MacBook Air, and it is just a really very refreshing. The next thing is that this MacBook finally has a Retina display. So it's an upgrade. It's just brighter, more clear, more pixels. I really like that. And that's the first one, the MacBook Air 2018. It has that new screen. Very, very nice. It has very thin bezels. Just like iPhones back in the day with Touch ID, it has very thick, chunky bezels on the sides. And I never noticed how much more screen real estate the MacBooks had up until switching to this one, because the old MacBook Airs just had a very thick bezel around the screen. So that made it feel a lot more modern, a lot more real estate. The next thing that I wanted to get away from was the old school MagSafe charging. It was very flexible, very cool, but it, because the MagSafe, it was very safe, but it really wasn't modern in the sense that I can only use one charger with it. And when I mean flexible that it was like easy to take off, like physically very easy to take on and off, but it wasn't very good to work with other devices. If you have an iPhone, an Android phone, other tablets, all these devices had USB-C, and you could actually, use a phone charger to charge your MacBook. So that's what I wanted. The 2018 MacBook has two USB-C ports, and it has a headphone on the side, and that's about it. Very minimal, very modern. I like that. And I don't have to carry around that huge brick, and just, the MagSafe charger only charged a MacBook. So now I could use a lot of different chargers, and I don't have to bring mine either. I could charge it in a car. I could charge it with a, somebody else's charger if they have it lying around. So, I could charge my AirPods with it now. The same charger, very, very flexible. And it makes it more portable because now I could take the MacBook to a lot of different places. Before, I only had that charger, the MagSafe charger, at home. So this is a big upgrade for me. Was I really wanted USB-C. The next great addition, which is kind of boring, but I think it's very useful, is that the 2018 MacBook Air finally added Touch ID. So it makes it very convenient. I don't have to type when I unlock my Mac from sleep. When I pay for something or have to change settings, I could just easily put my finger on the keyboard and I'm good to go. Very new and modern, just very, very easy to use. The next thing that really intrigued me is having a bigger trackpad. Coming from that 11-inch model, this is a big upgrade for me. It just feels good you have a lot of room to work with, to swipe around, to zoom in and zoom out. And it's just very, very nice to have another modern touch, having just a lot of space to work with. Like I mentioned before, I don't do a lot of I don't do gaming. I don't do content creation. I mostly use this as honestly, I use it mostly for a digital browser device. I basically just want to use, if I can't use my iPhone to like fill out forms, I go straight, mostly for informational purposes, more for practical, filling out forms and browsing the web. That's what I mostly use my MacBook for, and this one serves it perfectly. This one has 8 gigs of RAM versus the 4 gigs. Now that's the standard now with MacBooks over the past couple of years. For years I had 8 gigs, so now I finally at the base level, and 8 gigabytes of RAM is the same amount of RAM that was in the 2024 M3 MacBook when it launched. So it's still very much a usable amount of RAM. Now the new starting amount is 16 gigs, which Apple refreshed with the M3 MacBook. Again, they re-released it. That one and the M2 with 16 gigs of RAM. But for my needs, I think 8 gigabytes is still pretty good. And the other big reason why I chose a 2018 MacBook Air from a physical standpoint is that with all the great hardware upgrades that I'm getting from the 2015 MacBook Air that I had, I'm paying way less for this. I was lucky enough to get this one for about $160, and then plus tax in my area, I ended up paying full price altogether, less than $200, around $197, and that's a very cheap price. This MacBook, when it launched, it cost $1,200, and compared to a brand new M3, you're looking at $1,200 as well. So to me, this is a very cheap price for just a refreshed, newer version MacBook. New to me, it's pretty old for a lot of people, but for me, $200. This one serves my needs very perfectly. So I upgraded and I saved a lot of money at the same time. So now let's talk about the software and what actually matters to a lot of people besides the hardware. It's the software, and Apple likes to launch a new software update every year and keep it fresh and modern. And this one doesn't disappoint. This MacBook doesn't have the newest software. This one, the newest software you can get on this is Sonoma, but to me, it's a big upgrade in many ways. It feels very modern. It's very it's a refresh compared to the old Monterey that I had before. This is just one. This is the software that was released right before the current one, Sequoia, was released. But to me, it feels so modern. It still holds its own, and I feel like it's going to be like that for the next couple of years. And let's talk about more about what I like about Sonoma that brings this 2018 MacBook so much more value. I don't really need a lot, like I said, but it's very nice that this MacBook and Sonoma has widgets. That's probably the one thing that stands out a lot. You could put all your widgets on your desktop, so that's a very nice touch, very modern. When you first open your MacBook, it has those immersive dynamic wallpapers and screensavers, so you have those nice cool videos when you open it up and you click on the desktop, and they stop very slowly at the end. So a very nice touch that makes it feel really cool, really new. I really like that. Since I'm on Safari a lot, I usually have a lot of tabs open and stuff, but sometimes I set up web apps. They're like shortcuts that you can drop them into your dock, and it's just another modern way. It kind of works like a Chromebook, where you could have a tab and set it up as or a website and set it up like an app, and it feels just like a digital app on your MacBook. So that's really nice there too. Another reason I updated from the older MacBook to this one is that with Sonoma, it has the new modern refresh settings instead of the system preferences, and I found that to be a very refreshing feeling. I'm in the settings a lot, tinkering around with all the settings that are involved in a MacBook, and I was specifically looking to get away from system preferences. It just feels very outdated to me. Some people may disagree, but it makes the settings feel more like an iPhone, more like iOS, and it just feels very more refreshed. And it has a couple of options that are not found in system preferences. I like having the way you manage battery, whether you can maximize the battery life, you could optimize it, stuff like that. So I just like that newer settings. And another big one to me is the way that you factory reset your Mac. I was specifically looking for an easier way to do that. Before, if I wanted to reset my MacBook, I had to go to disk utility, which was a pain. Sometimes I didn't know how to do it. It is very confusing for a lot of people. And now that I think it was launched with Ventura, and this one that has Sonoma, you could just kind of just like an iPhone, just go through a few prompts in the settings, and boom, you can factory reset your Mac if you want to sell it or if you want to start fresh. And it's just a way better way of doing a factory resets. I really like that. And the last thing that I could name right here in the software that's new and different is Stage Manager. Very controversial. Supposedly a lot of people hate it. I actually like Stage Manager. It's not that bad, but you could turn it off if you don't like it. It's kind of makes it a little bit cleaner, and it's just another way that makes this older MacBook feel newer. Now, there are some drawbacks that I don't like about this 2018 MacBook Air, and one of the things, and probably mostly, is going to be the battery life. Since this is going to be pretty much a 6-year-old device. Well, no, not 6. It's the 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It's a 7-year-old device. Wow, that's crazy. And the battery's not going to be the best. Even when it was brand new, this MacBook was only offering around 12 hours of battery life. And now with this one has around 325 battery cycles when I bought it off eBay, and this one's getting me around half that, around 5 hours, which is good enough for me for what I paid for. And I use it for a couple of hours and then just charge it with USB-C. So Since I don't use it, I don't need it that many hours. I don't need 18 hours of battery life, but it's something to be mindful of. I mean, it serves my needs. I do wish that I had a lot of battery life. I'm never going to complain about having lots of battery life, but for $200 and the way that I use it, and then it just works out. And then that's why I want a USB-C, so I could quickly just charge it or when I take off my phone and charge the MacBook instead. So it works out pretty good. It's a good compromise. And yeah, I wish I could get a couple more years of updates, but since I'm not a power user, I think this edition of Sonoma will be good enough for at least 1 or 2 more years. That's when I think I'm gonna upgrade this model to something else. But apart from this model right here, I think the next cheaper MacBook that people should get will probably be the M1. And, I think that's the way going forward, is skipping the Intel processors and going straight to at least Apple's own chips. I think that's the way to go. This is probably like the last Intel MacBook that I'll ever have. So all in all, that's been my story of why I picked and bought the 2018 MacBook Air to replace my 2015. Thanks for watching.